Hi. So my beginning with Jumpstart Ministries is a little unique. You see, 2.5 years ago, my husband passed away, and he and I had been in ministry for years in churches since our 20s, and ministry was full-time in every way to us. I thought every way, from any and every ministry direction you could think of, he and I had done. We knew how to do ministry. But after my husband passed, I was lost. Not only without having him as my husband for 40 years, but I truly said, okay, God, now what? What on earth am I supposed to do? Who am I now? No longer a pastor's wife, no longer a leader in ministry. Together, what? So I was just kind of floating around for over a year, maybe even a year and a half, still longing for what I was supposed to do. My heart was empty. It felt like not only the death of a husband, but the death of me in ministry. Then suddenly, and you know the Bible talks about that sometimes, then suddenly, I was at a good friend's home, and there was a crowd of people there for a cookout, just gathered together, having fun and laughs. And one of those friends began talking to me and mentioned a ministry called JUMPSTART. I listened and very casually said, okay, I'll try it. I'll start the process, the background checks, the training, all of that. But the whole time thinking, this is going to be a long time before this happens. Until one day, I received a message from my friend, and it said, it's happening. We are approved to start JUMPSTART in this prison for the very first time in our state. Well, then I thought, oh no, what on earth have I done? Why did I agree to this? How can I back out? I started thinking all that, like, okay, how do I get out of this? I casually agreed to do it, but I don't think this is for me. Fast forward, the day came to go to the prison. I had passed all the background stuff, did all the trainings, and it was time to go to the prison for the first time. I had no idea what to expect. You see, I was anxious on the drive up to the prison, nervous, even a little sick to my stomach, still thinking, I cannot do this. This is not the ministry I know. This is not for me. And I was crying out, I said, help me, Jesus, help me, Jesus. Our volunteer team was already ready, and we entered the prison. First time I've never been in prison, never visited a jail, nothing like that. So as we were sitting there in the room, the participants began to come into the room, and we had a lot. And then something just kind of took over me. And I began to say, hi, hello, etc. How are you? And they began to share their name, and they had smiles on their faces. And some of them were a little hesitant, like, what is this? What is this? So after the initial meeting, the team, we dispersed, and I got back in my car, and on the drive home, I began to weep. And I could feel God's presence. And I was overwhelmed with humbleness, even to the point of asking God to forgive me for how I had felt initially about this ministry. Because you see, I know ministry, but I never knew prison ministry. Not only did this happen the first time, no joke here, but the second and the third time to the prison The drive to the prison, nervous, anxious, still thinking, how can I still get out of this? Afterwards, in the car on the ride home, weeping, pouring my heart out to God for what I had experienced. Now, I look forward to going every week. There's no anxiousness. There's no sick to my stomach. It's an honor and a joy to go each week into the prison. I look forward to seeing and talking with those participants. You see, God had an even greater plan for me in ministry after such a great loss in my life. God has answered prayer, a prayer that was prayed over me shortly after my husband passed at a women's beach retreat in the middle of the ocean, as 25 to 30 women prayed specifically for me and for what God had planned in a new ministry for me, not knowing anything or what God would open up for me, what door he would open up for me. And he did it. And boy, was it unexpected, but one that I am honored that God chose me for JUMPSTART. So I look and I'm like, why do I love JUMPSTART? It's a life-changing ministry. If the participants work hard, soak in the lessons, learn their life skills, it's a new way of life for them. This ministry is breaking down years and years of cycles of brokenness, hurt, addiction, abuse, bad choices, bad influences, and the list just goes on and on. Realizing that with God and JUMPSTART, lives can be and are continuing to change for better. No more prison. And that is where it is a well-lived life, out of prison with a true relationship with Jesus and the skill set that the Bible lays out for us. So, what do I see as a life transformed in prison and with JUMPSTART? This is my perspective of it. Watching transformation in front of you each week is humbling. You watch the faces of the participants and you see they're getting it. They really are. They're diving into God's work. They're highlighting their books. They're marking it up. And they're sharing each week after each week what has impacted them. There's no holdback with these participants. They're eager to share. They're even encouraging each other. And it's great to just sit back and listen to them. Just watch them, observe them, listen to them. What I'm seeing as a life transformed is plural for lives being transformed. Each week as participants open the group with prayer or open the group with what touched their lives from the week's homework, hearing the amens, the yes, and then they're clapping, and that really is happening. And just recently, they've been singing as a group, a very big group, and they're singing, and their lives are being transformed right in front of us. So, I'm thinking, how has serving JUMPSTART impacted me? Each week as I watch, as I listen to a participant's life story, I am overwhelmed with compassion, humbled that God once again truly picked me to be serving in a ministry in prison to others. I've served in church ministry for 25 years. And the words when I try to explain to others outside of this prison and this prison ministry is that it is true ministry, True. It is true. It is pure, Pure. And I would say this: don't ever think God won't or can't use you in ways you never thought possible, because he will turn your apple cart upside down. He will reset your life in a minute and place it in your path to serve others, even in prison. Even if you are anxious, fearful, sick to your stomach, or think, no, 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 God, this is not for me. You know what? You better watch out, because it is for you. And I'll end with this. For the Bible says this: the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring the good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound. That is in Isaiah 61:1. So that's what we're doing. That's what God has called me to do. In a moment, in a season that I said, I don't think there's anything left. And he says, nope, there is. And it's for you.